Hello there, Seraphim17 once again, introducing you to the final chapter of my Human Revolution Give Me Deus Ex difficulty video walkthrough. And this one is chapter 15, entitled Tipping Point. And there are two sections to this level in my guide, and the second one is the final boss. So there's 19 minutes of a level, and then a last boss that separates you between three 100G achievements, and they are all well earned, and it's good to get them, especially on one run. It just feels there's just such a massive catharsis of taking on the game at its hardest setting, doing all these self-imposed restrictions, and still coming through at the end. It is a really lovely feeling, and I'm hoping that this guide is going to be as helpful to people as it has been enjoyable for me to make. So the reason I've just thrown those boxes there is because there's the concussion mines, and I don't want to lose my 2 battery cells, and they will fuck up your screen, which is never fun. But be careful in this section, because if you fall in the water, you're practically dead. You can get out of it if you're lucky, but it's a lot more difficult than it should be. And once you get to the top of that, if you use the box as a platform to get onto this pipe, you need to get to the vent there where that mine is. So the only gun I have to shoot this mine is 2 ridiculous weapons. So I put on the plasma rifle because I thought it would be more effective. It's not quite as effective as you'd think, because it just bloody missed, but the second one is a better shot, and it opens up the facility to get across there. So you'll notice I did take a dip, and 1 second in that water took off half my life. You do not want to be caught with your pants down standing in that water, or you're going to end up with no dick, no life, and a 5-minute loading screen, so you've been warned. But there's another mine. Don't overzealously rush forward and end up hitting it, because you can't see the forest for the trees, or you will see yet again another loading screen, and nobody wants that. But once you've done that, you will land in this room. You can turn the power off, and it will enable you to get to the proper part of the level, because this is just a nice bit of atmosphere setting and a couple of light platforming / traversal stuff. So move back through these corridors, and now you can go through the water safely without fear of electricity, but you don't need to, because that's the ladder that you have to climb up, and it's going to lead you directly into the facility that we were facing at the start. So from now on, we're going to be going through these areas, and everything's a little bit off. There's no people. We know they've gone nuts thanks to that plot development. We know that everybody's pretty much feral and a threat, but it kind of does a Dead Space to you, where you're moving through these environments and there's nobody here. And when you do see people, all there is mess. There's blood streaks, there's bodies. It's all kind of eerie. And then when they do turn up, they turn up in numbers. My goodness, you're going to come across a bunch of crazies, and they'll be 10 to 20 deep. There is so many of them that if you do set an alarm off, they will probably rip you to pieces before you can kill them all. So this is one of the most challenging parts of the game, purely because there is a lot of enemies, and sometimes it isn't obvious on how to get past them, but I do have a handful of really good techniques that should help you get through this level with no alarms, and without needing to resort to killing any of them. But here we go, this is the introduction to it, and the first part of this level, there are no enemies. All it is trying to shit you up, and trying to get you guessing at what's coming. And as soon as you get up to the top area and you talk to Darrow and you persuade him to do what we're going to persuade him to do, you have to backtrack all the way down the way you came, and now it is absolutely populated by psychos. So look forward to that. But just because there's nobody here doesn't mean we don't have to look around every toilet cubicle for potential loot. So make sure you do your Deus Ex thing, and you open doors and you examine shelves and you look for the little point and clicky emblems of things to pick up, and before you progress onwards. And there's actually a side quest in here where you find the psychologist that we got to tell the truth. I think his name is Haggart, and I can't find him, and he's the only thing stopping me from getting all the endings on the game, because I've got all the other ones. I just can't find him. But this section here has you waiting for the turret to turn to your left, so that you can run and sit under his blind spot, and then as soon as he turns back towards the corridor that you just came from, you need to run and jump through the window to your right. Don't go towards the one on the left like I do, because that's for later on. I nearly fell through then, that would have been silly. You need to jump into that control booth, but I nearly get caught here by the turret because it takes me so long to jump in, and you can't go that way. You have to go the window way, and I just didn't want to do it for some reason. So once you come through here, there'll be a cutscene, which I'm going to skip, like just then. Then you're going to be faced with the reason why everybody's gone to hell and the massive conspiracy. And this cutscene is going to dictate the next few minutes of this guide. And this is pretty much the last conversation of the game, unless you class the ending, but you're probably not going to be seeing the ending because I don't want to give it away. And I was in two minds to actually show this because there are so many truth bombs that the game gives out now. I'm going to actually have to turn the sound down a little bit because I can hear the bastard talking as I'm telling you this. And it's only now that I realise how much the audio of voices in the game is such a high priority, because every time you have one of these like speech off things, like the dance off equivalent of talking, there is no background music, there's no ambience or anything, it's just you and the other person, it's all about the words that you use. And this guy, as we can tell by the persuasion level, is definitely the alpha male. I do believe there's a conversation tree with this guy that you can do perfectly if you hit all the right notes, where he will give you a master code to overthrow the last boss, to overthrow the Project Hyperon or Hyperon. I can't remember its fucking name. Something H-Y-E-N something. That sounds so professional, doesn't it? It's something with a fucking word and a name and everything, blah blah blah. No, it's the last boss, and he gives you an overrun code, and I do know the code because I use it, but I didn't get it from this conversation. But there is a way to get it. But anyhow, see what we're doing now. So, do I appeal to him? Do I critique him? It's saying Omega, so it wants me to extrapolate. And I picked the wrong fucking option. I must have been blind. So, if you want to do this conversation wrong, you will pick the option that I just did. If you want to do it right, pick Omega, so extrapolate. I must not have noticed it. But I do end up getting the right point because I know exactly which truth bomb to drop on him, because one thing I have noticed with a lot of these dialogue trees is there is one reply that you can give that is kind of like the equivalent of the figurative punch in the balls. It was mentioning the kids to that one guy, it's all that kind of stuff. It's mentioning honor to the other guy, and this guy, it's mentioning that he couldn't actually get augmented. I'm not going to say anything more, but there is this bitterness from that is his kicker, that's his trigger. And you'll notice, because I didn't go with Omega, the persuasion level sank, so I'm now forced to use my pheromones to get this guy to fancy me. And right then it even tweaked on Omega, and I didn't realise. It's because, why did I pick beta? It makes no sense. I must have been just fucking high or something, because it was flickering alpha showing he had alpha properties, and then Omega, it never even once mentioned beta. It must have just been the nicest reply, the one that was closest to what I would have said. If it had been me though in this situation, I'd have shot the old bastard in the face. It's so much quicker and there's a lot less chat. But here he goes. This is when we've hit his button. This is when we've really rubbed him the wrong way. There he goes. Yep. This is where the bitterness seeps out of him. Like pus. Yep, go on, keep poking his wounds, Clint. Keep telling him how it's done. Keep blaming him for being an outlaw, Josie Wales. Yep, what have you done, son? What have you done with your strange leg and your even stranger walking stick that defies the laws of gravity? You want to watch this cutscene earlier on when he's got that stupid fucking stick. The only thing that stick would be good at doing is casting spells, because there's no way it could be used as a good ergonomic walking stick, because you'd have such a bad back relying on that wicked curve. But there he goes anyway. We've done the conversation. He gives us the code, which is going to help us disarm the boss. And truth be told, that code could be the kill code if I were to look at my information, because as I mentioned in a previous video, if you don't look at the code, the pieces of paper and the information that you're given, it doesn't give you the codes from them. So look, the pocket secretary there, if I look at that, that probably has the master kill code, and I've just never realised. But don't fear, I do know it off by heart. It's very simple, and when the time comes, we will absolutely rape the last boss. It is the easiest, least challenging thing ever. It's not even difficult if you try to shoot it, because I've done both ways. It's just this one is better for the guide, because this guarantees that you're not going to get spotted, that you're not going to get any bullshit stealing your achievements. But it's never that easy, is it? So as we make our way back through the facility to get to the next area, to get to the basement levels and go under the sea, we have to go past these things. And all they are is humans that augments have warped the mind, and they've put them into a feral, almost primal state, which translates to something in between Evil Dead and 24 Hours Later. So you want to just be careful. And I will say this much: they have random patterns when it comes to their ability, where they stand and where they walk and everything, and they are probably the most aware enemy you're going to come across, because if you go through this door now and you do not have your cloaking device on, they will see you immediately. It is cruel how good they are, so the cloak is the really, really good ability here. It is definitely the win button, and if you run past them all, you can hit the elevator, hit the other elevator, and shut it off before anybody knows you were there. And there's one situation coming up which I could honestly say is probably the most challenging part to the level, and everything else, if you think about it, if you approach it correctly, you can get past with little ease. But there's one bit coming up, and it involves a really long bridge with a good 30 or 40 of those psychopaths, and I take on this ridiculous bunny hopping approach, which you're going to see later on, and hopefully you'll do yourself, because it's a very effective technique. It's the most ridiculous stealth approach you could possibly have, but by God does it get you through that section quickly. But this is the hangar that you came out into, and this is another quite challenging area, because there's a lot of those fucking serial killer guys, those psychopathic feral creature geezers, and you don't want to go towards those lifts that I was looking at. You want to come down here, and as soon as you're down here, it's Deus Ex as normal. It's cover to cover, making sure none of the arrows are pointing at you, getting around the circumference of the area so that you can find a hidden air duct that's going to cut off as many enemies as possible. When you get to this fragile box, that guy there stands and stares for quite some time, so what I do is I cloak, I run around here, and there's a vent behind those metallic boxes in front of me, and this vent is going to cut off the other part of this room, and it's going to make it significantly easier to traverse. So use the vent, get the lovely traveller bonus if you need any more experience, and it's going to lead you out just next to the staircase that takes us to the next stratus of the level. So as you come out of here, just be careful, because these things have good hearing. There's a guy at the top of here with the boxes, and he will see you if you're unlucky, so get in cover as quickly as you can. Use your cloaking device, and this is another area where you want to sneak around them, and if anybody... these enemies, I wouldn't even bother doing the approach that I've been doing through the game, where I walk behind them, and then when I think they're going to turn round, I use the stealth, because this enemy, for some reason, they just see you immediately. There's no turning round and then being suspicious. They just automatically seem to know you're there, so you just don't want to fuck with it. You want to just be as thorough as you can. And we're coming up now to the last link limit on the game. You can see the sign there to the left, and all you have to do is move this vending machine. If you don't have the augment to do it, I would say buy it, because this is the last shop of the game. And I just wish I knew where the Haggart was so I could get my last ending. I'm going to have to try and Google it, but everybody says he's in the server room, and I don't know where the fucking server room is, and I've been all over this bloody place. But that's something for another time. I'm looking at the computer. There's no real need for it now, we're at the end of the game, but I do like to explore, it's in my nature. And here's the lady that you have to convince you're not a full-blown psychopath. So I skip the conversation and I just say, yes, and she opens up her wares. And then I start trying to buy some of that cryo energy gel stuff, and I can't buy it because I'm so full of shit. So I end up probably dropping the tranquilizer. Oh no, I'm going to drop the heavy machine gun and the tranquilizer, so I've got plenty of room now. And I'm going to drop the upgrade. Fuck it, I'll drop the upgrade. Because one thing I will say, you do not have to save any ammunition or anything now. The entire path to the last boss from here, I am not going to be killing anything, so you don't need a gun. And the last boss itself, all you need is a couple of shots from the plasma cannon, and at the very last door before the boss there is a body that has a cannon that is fully loaded, so you do not need any provisions, you do not need to save anything. This is your opportunity to be as wanton as you can with the items. They're there to be used, and you will not need anything for the boss. You're probably sitting there thinking, how is this possible? That boss, you've got to kill 3 turrets, hack 3 things, hide from everything. Trust me, it's a perfect strategy. It's a game-breaking code. But this is another area that is potentially challenging, because there's a shit ton of those scrubbers, of those psychos, and the best way to approach this is to jump off the balcony all the way down here with your Icarus wings, run straight forward, run directly north from where you land, all the way past all the machinery, all the way past all the craziness. You'll notice I'm crouching. The reason I'm crouching is because I get away with my position when I landed, and for some reason these psychos heard the noise. And you do not want to mess about with these things, because they will spot you in a second, and they will come and maul you even quicker. So if you move all the way across here, I'm being as tentative as possible towards this little digger thing, this little crate stacker, this pallet mover, whatever the hell it is, and then you want to be climbing up here. And I'm going to note right now, people, that I do not have the upgrade that silences my jumping. It's a certain radius away from the enemies that they can't hear me. You'll notice they don't even respond until I land on the deck, and I've used the cloaking device to make sure they can't see me, and it's another potentially difficult section done very quickly and very easily. And this elevator here leads off to a side quest that I'm not going to be doing. Straight in front of me now is the last and final challenge of the game. It is a connecting bridge full of psychopaths. So I hope you've got more battery power than I do. I'm going to be using an item to make sure that I have enough to get across the bridge. And you can try and stealth it. I tried to do it myself. That's a heavy machine gun. I wouldn't bother personally. But what I found was, every so often, the psychos would see me when I was on the lower portions of the bridge up against cover. They would randomly see me, and they would fuck the run up. So I found that the easiest and most obvious route through this bridge is to jump, like a psycho. And this leads to a gas room. If you don't have the lung ability, do not go near it, you will die. But the start of this is simple. What I do is I get into the little drainage area to the right, this little undercarriage bit. I use this cover at the side, and for whatever reason I don't get spotted then, but I have been spotted up against this piece of metal, so do not trust it. And then all you do is you jump. You get on this railing, jump on the crane, drop down on this bit, keep running cloaked, jump on the railing, jump across forward, drop down again, forward again, jump up on the railing, jump over, and you've just done the hardest bit of the level. It is now smooth sailing to the last boss. There's a lovely 2-minute elevator taken directly from Mass Effect 1 for your viewing pleasure. And then it is the last section of the game, and the only thing separating you from getting your 3 achievements. So, the last boss is pathetic, I'm going to say that straight away. There's the 2 side quests that we've missed. If you do it the way that I do it, you are in no threat whatsoever of being spotted by the psychos that get released or the robots that patrol, because we're going to be sitting up on an elevated position, and the only time we're going to give away where we are is at the end, when it's too late for anybody to do anything. And it's a very quick video. It also then goes on to show you pushing the buttons, but I'm going to trim that section out where you have the conversation that has all the weight and carries all the storyline to its, conclusion, because I don't want to ruin it for people that haven't played. This is just how to beat it, not how to learn its story without paying the price of admission. And then you'll see a little bit of credits in the next video, and then you'll see the achievements pop. But I'm going to say it right now, I do not get the legend achievement because I already have it. But I can't say it in any other way. You've seen how sensitive the characters have been. You've seen how tough, it's not even a word, I'm tired, I do apologise. It's been quite the session. You've seen how tough the bosses have been with the standard Typhoon augment, and you've just seen pretty much 20 videos worth of what I've been doing, so you can't deny the difficulty, although I'm sure people will. But this is the last corridor. It's kind of a long one, and there's going to be 2 corpses laid down. One will have a heavy machine gun, the other will have the plasma cannon so that you can reload and fire at the last boss. And then you open the door when you're ready for the final encounter. So as always guys, thanks for watching. I hope it's helping, and you take care now.